Today I wanted to talk about one of the most interesting and splashable cards we've had revealed in a very long time. Small World. Small World will be coming out in Burst of Destiny, and I'll leave its effect on screen right here if you would like to read it. That said, it is worded a bit confusingly, simply just because of the order of operations in which it resolves. So I will be breaking it down in this video anyway, just so there aren't any confusions on how the card works. Once you understand it, it is pretty simple. So Small World is a monster searcher that cares about attribute, level, typing, attack, and defense. So virtually everything it can care about. So in this example, we are going to activate Small World and reveal Wisdom Eyes. Then we need to banish one monster from our deck that has only one thing in common with Wisdom Eyes. In this case, we are going to be banishing Droll and Lockbird. The card that we revealed in our hand and the card that we revealed in our deck both get banished face down, and we can add one card from our deck to our hand that has only one thing in common with the card that we revealed from our deck. I give this example first because Wisdom Eyes, the card that we had in hand, and Ecclesia, the card that we ultimately ended up searching, both have everything in common that Small World cares about, despite the fact that Small World stresses that there can only be one thing in common. That is because the card in hand is not the thing that determines what you can search, it's the card that you banish from deck. Droll and Lockbird only has one thing in common with both of these cards, being that it's a spellcaster, therefore making it possible to search Ecclesia when you have Wisdom Eye in hand. Our next example is going to be just a little bit more complicated, because this time the card that we have in hand is going to have nothing in common with the card that we search from deck. This time we're going to activate Small World from our hand, revealing Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. We'll banish Effect Veiler from our deck, and add from our deck to our hand, Artifact Lancia. Once again, what matters most is the card that you banished from deck. In this case, Ash Blossom and Effect Veiler share only one thing in common, being their attack, and Effect Veiler and Artifact Lancia share only one thing in common, being their attribute. Knowing that the card in hand and the card that you search from deck don't need to share the same thing in common with the card that you banish from deck means that Small World can search anything in the game, assuming that you're playing the correct buffers in order to do so. The last thing I wanted to talk about in terms of how Small World works is how hand traps affect it. You see, Small World doesn't actually have a cost to activate, so as opposed to something like Cynet Mining, which has a similar effect of requiring a card in hand, if this gets hit with something like an Ash Blossom, you trade straight 1-for-1. Additionally, you only really have 3 hand traps you have to worry about, Ash Blossom being the most important. In the case of Artifact Lancia, Small World will simply just fail to resolve. You'll still have to deal with the fact that you can't banish cards for the remainder of the turn, but depending on what deck you're playing it in, that might not matter at all, in which case it would be a 1-for-1 trade. Something similar could be said for Droll and Lockbird, as depending upon what you're playing, this could stop you completely. Or, if you're able to play off of just the card that you search, this could once again just be a 1-for-1 trade. Now, because of the nature of Small World, you could play this card in anything to search anything. However, I wanted to give some quick examples of decks that you can play it in that don't require you to use any bricks. In Warrior decks, you can banish Ghost Girl hand traps from hand, then banish Junk Forward or Neospace and Aqua Dolphin from deck in order to search one-card starters like Armageddon Knight or Neospace Connector. In Burning Abyss decks, you can banish BA monsters from hand, then banish Lava Golem, Phantasme, or DD Crow from deck in order to search Tour Guide. In Invoked decks, you can use a myriad of combinations of Ghost Girl hand traps alongside Effect Veiler or Droll in hand or deck in order to search Alistair. In Speedroids, you can banish any of your Speedroid monsters from hand, then banish Droll from deck in order to search Terror Top. Additionally, in Speedroids, you can banish Ghost Girl hand traps from hand, then banish Droll from deck once again to search Terror Top. Since you play so many different levels and attributes in Code Talker, you can use Small World to banish either an extender or a starter in your hand in order to grab whatever you need from deck by banishing cards that you play multiples of, such as Microcoder. Dinosaur is also a deck that plays a lot of different attributes and levels, so you can banish a baby from hand, send an Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, and search an Oviraptor. Or you could do it in reverse and banish a baby from hand, banish an Oviraptor from deck, and search an Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. In Attic Nister, if you get stuck with any of your one-of combo pieces, such as Doyon, you can banish either an Achichi or a Bakari from deck in order to search either an Achichi or a Bakari, whichever one you didn't banish from deck. In Salamangreat, if you open a Salamangreat monster, you can banish the Salamangreat monster from hand, a Cyberse Extender from deck that isn't fire, and search Gazelle. In Madolche, if you open a monster that isn't a starter, you can banish that monster from hand, then banish a Madolche monster of a different type and level from deck in order to search a Madolche monster that is a starter. In Nekroz, because all of the ritual monsters are different levels and there's several different types involved, you can banish any monster in hand to grab a different one that you need, especially if you choose to play a Psychic or a Dragon Nekroz monster. In Phantom Knights, you can banish a Phantom Knight monster from hand, then banish a level 3 extender from deck. From there, you can either search a level 3 extender, or you can search for the Phantom Knights of tier scales. Additionally, in Phantom Knights, you can banish a Phantom Knight monster from hand in order to banish a level 3 extender from deck and search Terrortop. Terrortop is a 1-card starter. Finally, in Zombies, you once again have a bunch of different levels and attributes, so you can banish cards such as Ghost Girls, which happen to be zombies, then banish other zombie monsters from deck in order to search any zombie monster you want. Additionally, in Zombies, you have the ability to turn any zombie monster you want into a Ghost Girl. For example, if you start with Mizuki, you can banish Mizuki, then banish your Doom King in order to search Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Now, the last thing that I really wanted to talk about as a whole here, and the thing that really made me stop and think that this card was going to be really good, especially on a tournament level, is the fact that this card gives a bunch of different decks the ability to search really powerful side deck cards. In different Earth-themed decks, such as Madolche, you have the ability to search Dino Wrestler Pankratops, which currently is limited to 1. You can also do this in decks where you can banish Ghost Bell, and other Earth monsters such as that. In fire-themed decks, or decks where you can banish Ash Blossom from deck, you can search for Lava Golem, which gives you the ability to break boards which otherwise might be unbreakable. In light-themed decks, or decks where you can banish Effect Veiler from deck, you can search Denko Sekka, which gives you the ability to play through decks that play on a heavy amount of back row, or for example Tri-Brigade right now if they end on a 2-negate Apollosa. If you're playing a deck with a lot of different hand traps, you have the ability to swap out your hand traps for one that you think is better for a given scenario, or if you open multiple of the same hand trap, you can switch them out, for example switching out Bell for Ash or Ash for Bell. You can also search for power hand traps for a given format. For example, if you're able to banish a Ghost Girl with Small World, you have the ability to search for Ally of Justice Cycle Reader, which currently can be a real blowout against Drytron. Even in the main deck, if you're main decking something that's a format-defining counter card, such as Droll and Lockbird right now, you can activate Small World and banish a Ghost Girl, for example, and search Droll and Lockbird. Small World can be played alongside Pot of Extravagance or Pot of Prosperity with no problem. Additionally, if you happen to be playing hand traps as targets, it also has a lot of synergy with Crossout Designator, whenever we do happen to be getting that. When Burst of Destiny does come to the TCG, I would highly recommend picking up Small World. It has a lot of power right now, but it has even more future potential. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you'd like to see next in the comment section down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to contact me directly, you can do so over Discord, link in the description.